one thing that drives me nuts that my wife does that we don't really get into arguments about this, but it just drives me nuts is the garbage. She will take the garbage. She will take it out of the garbage container. We have one of those it's like a cabinet that slides open. So you pull the cabinet out and the garbage can sits inside of it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not under the sink. So she'll pull that out. She'll pull the garbage out of there. She'll tie it off and she'll just leave it there for me. And then she'll shut the door and she won't put a new garbage bag in there. Or what she'll do is she'll just tie it off and leave it in there and then leave it shut. And then I'll go to throw trash away later. And there's the sign saying, "Hey, jackass, why don't you take the garbage out?"
Do you talk to her about this?
Yes, I tell her it drives me absolutely nuts. She goes, "Well, it's your thing." I'm like, "Well, okay, take it out, but put a new bag in there. You got to put a new bag inside the trash can."
But then that would require her to take out the garbage. You see what I'm saying?
She could just leave it there next to the kitchen table, and I'll take it later. It's in a bag.
Nobody wants trash sitting out on the floor. Sometimes the bag rips. It gets a little hole in it.
She doesn't mind because she does it all the time. She just leaves it there.
Microscopic holes.
Now, if she was here, she would tell you that's because I don't keep up with my end of the deal. Probably take the trash down fast enough. But it's just like if you're gonna tie it up, take it out, put a new bag in, or maybe she's afraid it would just stay there and it would just keep piling up. This is one of the things that couples get in arguments about is replacing the trash bag.
You should never have set chores in a relationship. It should just be you do it as it comes along. Oh, I got to do that. Okay. The trash is full. I'll take it out. Now, my wife is like your wife. For whatever reason, trash is not her thing, and she will let it overflow. And eventually, I can't stand it, so I will definitely, when I come around to it, I'll be like, "Oh, this is getting full. I got to take it out." I don't raise a fuss about it now. She does not tie it off like your wife does. That would probably drive me insane.
So you open the drawer to throw something away, like a paper towel or something, and then there's the bag all tied in a knot, so you can't put anything in it.
You can't throw away whatever you were going to throw away.
That's what drives me nuts more than anything.
Because you know that you could, if you wanted to, make that paper towel fit into the garbage bag, knowing that, okay, then maybe you would take it out. Or maybe you could fit some more stuff into it. I push the garbage down.
Yeah. You know what I had to do? I had to start tying the damn bag up. I get up first in the morning. I go upstairs. I get my coffee. I leave for work.
You should.
I'm going to tie that damn bag.
It's always good to
and
give
when she comes up there to make her breakfast or do what she does.
A taste of their own medicine.
There's going to be, "Oh, I'm sorry. You can't throw the trash away?"
I tied it up and I must have forgot to take it out. My bad.
I mean, let's be honest. She does all the laundry. She does, at least half the dishes. And all I have to do is take the trash out and, mow the grass. But it's winter, so you don't do that right now.
Connor says that his things to do around the house are the trash and the dog do.
Yeah, that seems trash is a guy thing. I don't know why we ended up with this thing, but we did.
But why? It's not. I mean, a girl's very capable. A woman is very capable of taking the trash out. Very capable.
Anybody is. A kid is. See, if we had kids, your kids are almost that age. You start giving them responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's what my dad said.
Your job I make it fun. I'm like, "Hey, kids, you want to take out the trash?
Come with me." That's good. I'm glad you did.
I'm like teaching them, it's like.
My dad didn't. He's like, you want to have a life? You want to see your friends? And you'll do these 5 things when you get home from school.
I'm not quite there yet where they'll do it on their own volition, but I'm making a game of it for sure.
Who holds the remote? This is something that we actually is the opposite in my house. It's more like a hot potato. I'm like, I don't want this thing. You drive. We call it driving because we're always on the DVR, so you can fast forward through commercials. And I think the problem is we're both sitting there on our phones or doing emails or doing something else, and we don't want to be responsible for actually having to fast forward. You guys
to have what's on in the background.
Do you fight over the remote?
No, we don't.
Who's a better driver?
But we argue about that a lot.
I know you think you are.
I'm the best driver I know.
You tell me that I'm a bad driver.
I drive part-time for a living. That's what I always say.
Cap on the toothpaste, that's something else.
Parking cars. This is what defines whether or not who the best driver in your household is. Okay?
Let's do
all right? It's how you park a car. And if 50% of the time you park a car and you don't leave enough room on both sides of your car to get out of the car, then you're a terrible driver, and that is my wife.
See,
if it takes you 15 minutes to parallel park, then you are a terrible driver. That is my wife.
See, I back in every day. I back my truck down our driveway. I usually pull and there's a turnaround, but she pulls in straight and then backs out in the morning.
I've ridden with both you and your wife, and I will say that you're the better driver in that relationship.
Oh, well, I can't believe you said that.
I just remember your wife in college. I told myself I will never ride with her again.
She's actually a pretty good driver.
After this.
I got no complaints.
But she's like Mario Andretti, okay?
She does get on people's asses.
Speeds.
And it makes me nervous.
There was this road. I remember in college once, I ended up at your house or something like that, and I left my car downtown, and I needed to get a ride to it because I needed to go to work, and it was a night of drinking the night before. So I said, hey, Charlene, could you give me a ride downtown and get my car? And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Hop in. And my gosh.
Oh, she drove that little Jetta with the turbo, right?
Yeah.
The little gray car?
I forget what's that main road there? In
Grand
Coleman?
Avenue?
Is that Grand?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Grand and Main Street.
Main Street. I think it was Main Street.
Main Street goes actually through the little town up to the school. Grand Avenue is the one that went all the way from one side of town to the other. It went by my office bar and grill.
Okay, that's the one. That's the one we were on.
Yeah.
Grand.
Not
the
that it
speed limit
matters,
on Grand's like 30 miles an hour, right? I look down at the speedometer. She's doing 70.
No way.
And she's like up on everybody's butt because they're not going fast enough. Keep in mind, it was 30 miles an hour. And I was white-knuckling it. I was like, oh, my God, what did I get myself into? And I swore then and there that I will never ride with Charlene again.
Riding with your spouse is always interesting because I always feel like, okay, you got to be sensitive here. You can't just go, whoa, or grab the armrest. They're like, what's wrong with you? And then all of a sudden, especially if you're on a road trip together for hours, And but sometimes you just have to go like, Jesus, hold on a second. We're asking you who's the better driver. 5433693 in your relationship. The better driver between you and your spouse, you and your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case is. You can also text in at 5433693.
I'll tell you this. My wife is the worst local driver, but she's the better long distance driver. Like, I'm totally cool with her going the long distance.
How tall is she, by the way?
She's 5'1".
I rode with you guys once. You had to ride in the back with your daughter, and I rode, and she sits so forward.
She does.
She drives this SUV, and she sits so forward. And we're going up the grade, and she's having a smoke. And
she gives you lots of leg room.
Maybe she wasn't smoking. I can't remember. But the windows, and she's yelling at people, and I'm just like, wow. Like, I thought I'd get pissed off at dumb people.
Yeah. Yeah, she's an angry driver. But I will say this: does she
have any road rage incidents? Tickets?
Her distance driving, her endurance makes up for it because she can sit behind the wheel for 8 hours,
right,
without stopping.
Wow,
if need be,
without stopping.
Yeah, without stopping.
Oh, that's
she can do it.
That's unheard of.
She can do it. Like I'll like go down for a long nap with my kids in the back seat, and I'll wake up and she's still tooling away, and I'm like, wow,
that's pretty impressive.
That's
8 hours without a pee break.
I mean, if she doesn't have to go to the bathroom or drinks too much coffee or something along those lines, and when she does have to pee, she will hold it. She is good at holding it. She'll hold it for. Once she makes mention of it, she can hold it for a couple hours after making mention of it.
I have to drive on wherever we're going. I like, I'm going to get us there. We're going to get there fast. We're not messing around. But on the way home from trips, I'm like, do you mind? And I really don't want to drive. I'm like, go ahead. And I got to say the same thing. I'm always surprised that she does great endurance. I didn't think to use that word, driving. 5433693. Hi, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning. Hey, my wife has like the opposite of road rage, which really drives me nuts. When you're driving along and somebody passes you on the right and they squeeze up and they puddle jump you, they try to squeeze in that little space in front of you.
Oh, man. There's nothing that irritates me more.
Okay. When she's driving, she just slows down and lets them in there.
See, that's me.
She cowards. She cowards to them.
She's like the opposite of road rage. And I mean, it's like, and people do rude stuff out on the road, and she's just like, she'll put her on her brakes. Oh, go ahead.
I'm that
Drives
way.
me insane.
I'm totally that way.
You slow down when you're in the fast lane to let that son of a bitch in?
Yeah.
Ah, my God.
No, I'm like,
I get right on the butt of that guy in front of me, and I don't let him in.
Nope,
and
me
then
either.
When he turns and looks,
you guys are like my wife.
Contact with me, I shake my finger at him like, don't even try that with me, man.
Thanks for the call. That's great.
Those two different. But see,
Anti-road rage.
Are you in it to win the battle, or are you in it to win the war? That's the question. And the war is getting to point B safely. Whereas if you're gonna, and what good does all the aggression do on the road? I mean, what good does that?
What kind of nerve does somebody have to come flying up on the right lane and then try to cut off in the left lane?
It's like
no, I don't think so.
Like, you're going to get super mad.
No cuts.
Where is that going to get you? Where is that rage going to get you?
You let people cut in line? Like if you're at Disneyland?
Usually,
you let people cut in line?
If they're pushy enough, I'll let them do it.
You cower to them, huh?
I'm like, you know what, dude, whatever. If you think your life's more important than mine,
I didn't know that
whatever.
about you.
Very rarely will I stand my ground in the line.
You call me a short guy all you want, but I'm like, hey. Yeah, no, don't think so. Come on out of there. Everybody here has been waiting for a half hour. Get in the back.
I think most people are like you. I really do.
Well, I mean, society has rules. They're unspoken, and that's one of them.
But people that get road rage fuel the fire for road rage. You understand that, right? My wife, I try to tell her this all the time. I'm like, you're just adding to the problem by not letting that guy in.
Yeah, I know. I hear
he's
you.
going to get pissed off at you. You're going to piss off everybody around you.
The voice
Next thing
of
you
reason.
know, you got 10 cars that are jockeying for position because they think that they're in some kind of race. It escalates. It's dumb.
I don't believe you.
What, did I get road?
So no, I don't believe you that you don't get road rage and you let people in.
I don't know how. I'm going to say sometimes, yes, I do get road rage, but I am quick to realize that it's getting me nowhere. Like, road rage is the dumbest thing that you could ever do.
It is, because it's over in a second.
Well, yeah, and what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Ultimately,
I thought about going up and doing a pit maneuver in the son of a bitch.
Ultimately, it has dire consequences.
And I know I can't do that because I don't want to screw up my truck and I don't want to go to prison. I'm not sure how much you've been following this Uber driver that was arrested and charged with 10 felonies here in San Luis Obispo.
Pretty closely. I don't think anybody is. It was national news. He's a serial. He's a serial
rapist, from what it sounds like. That's kind of how he's being charged.
As he should be, if he did what he did.
We're going to get into that with Jeff Stulberg. He's going to come in here in a little bit, finding out that he's an illegal alien, that he's been deported before. It'll be. I'm not really sure what his options are, but it'll be interesting to see what way Jeff thinks that the law will kind of move forward with. And then, let
me ask you a question, okay?
Just a wild story.
Given his immigration status, do you think this story would be as big as it is nationally had he not been an undocumented?
I think so. Yeah, because he took advantage of young, intoxicated women, and from what I understand, he not only sexually assaulted them. Let's use the word rape because I believe that happened, but he robbed them.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was like manipulating the Uber app to do so. He wasn't. He was an Uber driver, yes, but he was not like an Uber driver. He was not acting as an Uber driver, or he was acting like an Uber driver, but he was not.
He wasn't on the clock.
Logged on through Uber so they could track what he was doing.
So I wanted to ask you a question because you are an Uber driver, and you're the only Uber driver that I know. If he's an Uber driver and he's not logged on, can he still use the app as a driver?
I don't know how. Okay,
is it as soon as you open the app that you're logged in? How do you log in as a driver?
So I believe what he was doing, and I'm not sure what he was doing, but so he was using the rider side of the app to track all these Uber cars and where they were going. So then he would get in front of Uber cars and see where they were going, and then look for people that looked like they were going to be calling for the Uber. So
I have the rider side. I know you don't. Yeah. So I'm going to open mine, and usually it'll tell you where cars currently are, and it does. Look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars within our area right there. You see them all on the map, and they're all dancing around a little bit. And so
I think what he would do is he would go in front of one of those and kind of watch where they were going, and then look for people that were getting picked up. And he would like scoop in and get them before their designated driver would show up. And then that's how he was taking care of it. And he was doing it in hours in which, there would be, people that were intoxicated, girls and women that were intoxicated, and try to creep on them that way.
Okay, that makes sense to me because
that's the only thing I can think of. How
so when
he
you
did
log in as a driver, you can't see any other Ubers.
I can't see where other cars are.
You can't see where
only if I'm monitoring it through the other side of the app, and I will use the other side of the app. I'll use the rider side of the app to gauge the competition for the evening or for the morning or whenever I'm Uber driving.
So right now, at least in this area part of town, you have 7 cars.
7 cars. I probably wouldn't go out Uber driving right now. Because
there's 8 because there's one hiding underneath. Where do you want to go?
Yeah,
he's downtown.
So I mean, there's right now I probably wouldn't be Ubering because there's 8 other guys that are out there splitting the pie. That's how I look at it. So I do use that side of the app from a education standpoint. What he was doing is absurd, and it's scary because Uber. I don't know how Uber's going to stop that kind of behavior from happening.
Because he wasn't logged in. He showed up. He has the Uber sticker on his car because he also is an Uber driver. He just wasn't logged in as a driver. He would get in front of these other Uber drivers, and then he would tell the people there, there was a problem with the app, and he needed to. I read in the story that he used Venmo. It's like, I need you to Venmo me $10.
Yes. So he was scooping in on other Uber drivers' rides, and when it wasn't somebody he wanted to assault, he would want to get paid for giving them a ride still. So he would say, "Oh, my app's not working correctly. Could you Venmo me the money?"
That's your number one signal right there.
This is my username. Yeah.
Don't get in someone's car.
So that, and also Uber hates that as well, because if you say that it's going to happen, they're trying to circumvent the cut that Uber gets. Like, I've had guys offer me before. They said, "Hey, do you want me just to pay you cash and then you just cancel the ride?" And I don't want to get found out. You know me, I'm a bad liar. I'm a terrible liar.
Yeah, it's just you'll stress about it.
Yeah, I don't want to stress about,
And Uber only doesn't take that much anyways, right?
$7, the $3 extra that you're going to give me. I'm like, no, that's cool. I'll just let the Uber thing take care of it. So it's. Anytime an Uber driver says, "Hey, I'm gonna," that's one red flag. I guess if you're going to educate people on this, it's like you should always ask your Uber driver's name. What is your name? What is your name, Uber driver? And then you tell them, because they know that so and so is coming to pick them up. If this guy, if these women that were assaulted by this guy would have just said to him, "What is your name?" And then what was his name? I forget. He went by something
Alfonso
else.
Or something, but he had a few names.
He went by something else on Uber, and they said it said George was picking him up. They'd be like, "Oh, you're not my Uber. I'll wait for my Uber."
Oh, no, it's okay. He sent me instead.
Because Uber is tracking you, and Uber actually has a thing for drivers and riders that it's a button that you hit that says that shares with your friends that you are on an Uber ride, and track where I'm at and where I'm going. And if they would have done those 2 things, then there wouldn't have been an assault that went down.
Thanks for coming in a day early, Jeff. Wanted to talk to you about this Uber guy.
Not a problem.
Appreciate it. Jeff Stulberg is here, stulberglaw.com. So this is an interesting case. I mean, this guy's a very serious case. I mean, he's got 10 felonies. Do you represent people that have felonies sometimes, or do you stay away from felonies? Or
no, I do. It depends.
Depend on what it is?
I don't handle felonies involving rape, robbery, murder, arson, crimes against children.
Yeah, but you're familiar with the law when it comes to it. So we were just talking about it because Jeff's an Uber driver, and I was asking him, how would this guy know where these people were? And he was saying he actually wasn't using the driver app. He was probably using the rider app because that actually shows where people are at. We're talking about the fact that he's an illegal alien or an undocumented immigrant who's been deported before, which to me is nuts. It's nuts to think that, okay, he was deported and now he's back. And we just heard about a case similar to this with an illegal immigrant that had been deported 5 times in the shooting that happened up in the pier in San Francisco, Jeff?
Yeah, which weirdly enough had local ties because the gal went to
Cal Poly. He faces multiple charges of rape of an intoxicated victim, first-degree burglary. A number of things that we don't have to go into. There's 4 victims right now. And the way the news story reads, it sounds like they think there's probably more victims because they're asking people to come forward if they know this guy, and they put a picture of him up on the internet.
Well, a lot of people are reluctant to report, especially if they were really intoxicated and don't really aren't really cognizant of what the entire situation was, or they're embarrassed about the fact they put themselves into that situation.
Oh,
But,
you hear it with victims all the time.
yeah,
You know,
there's a bunch of reasons that people don't report it, and hopefully anybody who was a victim of him and believes they were will come forward. But given his current baggage right now, if he's convicted on the charges that he's currently facing, he won't be getting out in the next generation or so.
So what will happen to a guy like this? So what are some of the options that the criminal system looks at? I mean, do they deport him again? Because it seems like that didn't work because he came back and he committed these crimes. Or do they actually put him in jail here?
In a situation like this where they're violent felonies, they'll try him here, and if he's convicted, he'll serve his prison time here, and then if he is still alive at the end of his prison term and they don't decide to send him to a state hospital for further treatment, he'll be deported. But
why not? And I know this is probably a lot to answer, but why not, if he's found guilty, deporting him? Why not just deport him?
Because he'll just come back.
Well, because there's no guarantee that his country of origin will do anything whatsoever. As a matter of fact, if he's convicted in a crime in the United States, that doesn't sentence him to a Mexican penal institution.
So we deport him, and then he goes to a weird jail for 2 weeks and then gets out again.
Exactly. So in this case, I think that it's not a deterrence factor; it's a public safety issue. That if he's convicted, that they will they'll deport him once his sentence is done. In many cases, with sexually violent predators, what happens is they serve their prison sentence, and at the end of the sentence, if they're still deemed to be potentially dangerous, they will send them to, for example, a Tascadero State Hospital. There's a lot of patients at Ash that were transferred there at the conclusion of serving their criminal sentence based upon an assessment by psychiatrists that the person was still a danger to himself and others.
We got somebody who wanted to weigh in on this. Go ahead.
The Uber thing, I also drive for Uber, and I know it's a very weird thing that Uber is, but my daughter said something, and it hit home. She said, "Mom, you've always told us not to take rides from strangers, and here you are, grown-up, summoning people to come pick you up who you don't know." So, it's a horrible thing that happened to these women, but at the same time, like, maybe we should reevaluate how we are doing business with Uber, as a society.
Wait, hold on a second. You're an Uber driver and you think this?
I do, because it is a dangerous... I used to work in San Luis, and I get off at 1:30 at night, right? So I do the after-bar ride, like on Thursday and Friday nights.
Yeah, super
And I always
lucrative.
told the girls, if you don't feel comfortable with the driver, you don't have to take the ride.
Yeah.
And same with me. If I don't feel comfortable with somebody, I can tell them, hey, I'm not going to drive you. I'm canceling.
Yeah, we get this false sense of trust, I think, because
Yes, we do.
it's an app on our phone and it's everybody's doing it, and if come on, it's not going to happen to me, and you just have to be heads up, pay attention.
Yeah, but
Predators out there.
Yeah, but for the most part, wouldn't you say that? I mean, this is. How long has Uber been in San Luis Obispo? What, 4, 5 years?
I've been driving for about a year and a half.
Okay.
About a year and a half. I've been driving.
But I mean, it's been in San Luis Obispo for probably 3, 4 years, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
And
right around there.
This happened once, and it just so happened that the guy ends
that we know
up
of.
being in this area. Yeah, that we know of. But I would think that the way he took advantage of it is very unheard of. Hopefully, it doesn't give bad guys more ideas.
All right, we're going to let you go because that noise is driving me nuts. But thanks, I appreciate your perspective and your call. But I think it's a good idea, right, Jeff? I mean, just to kind of to pay attention to your surroundings, and like Jeff said, look at the phone. It says, "Hey, your Uber driver's name is George," and when they pull up, you say, "Hey, what is your name?" "Oh, Tom." "Oh, okay, you're not my Uber driver."
You're somebody else's Uber driver.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of how these girls got into this situation.
Well, her comment actually resonates with me a little bit because I was tied up at the office a few weeks ago, and so my wife suggested that she would just call Uber and have them pick up the girls and bring them to my office. My secretary went down to meet them, and when she came back up, she read me the riot act because she thought the Uber driver was really creepy.
Really?
Yeah. She said, "How can you let your kids get in the car with a complete stranger?" And, of course, then about 2 days later, I read about this in the paper, just like everybody else did.
Billy writes in on the 805 Beer text line, and he says, at what level of responsibility is the state on this one? Because It was our stupid state that issued a driver's license to a guy who was deported to Mexico. Then he came back here illegally, where he was then issued a driver's license again by our stupid state. He says that's flat out BS. I mean,
how are you an illegal alien can get a driver's license?
Well, the state made a decision a few years ago, for better or for worse, that it was better to have people that were driving on the roads here have a driver's license and have insurance, whether they were here legally or not. And so it was sort of a public policy decision to do it that way. Some people agree, some people disagree. In this particular instance, though, if somebody's going to do a criminal act, whether or not he had a driver's license probably wouldn't have made a difference. In that.
Bad guys are bad guys. You know,
I mean, he wasn't
if
really
he had access to a car.
He wasn't really sent out by Uber,
right? He wasn't doing the Uber thing, even though he was an Uber driver also. But anybody, unfortunately, and I hate saying this because, like I said earlier, I don't want to give bad guys any ideas, but anybody could have done what he did as long as they downloaded the Uber app, and that's where it falls on Uber. You know, I mean, he could have a car, know how to drive, and not have a license, and still have done what he did. There's lots of people, I'm sure you hear about it all the time, Jeff. There are lots of people that drive without licenses.
I see them all the time. My other comment about this, though, is that Uber has, I think, incredible liability in this case, even though they always argue that folks are independent contractors. Let's just say that, or maybe not in this particular case, but think about Uber as a whole. They do very little background checks on people, and yet you pay them to send a, quote, trusted person to your residence or wherever you want to be picked up to give you a ride. So ultimately, any lack of vetting or of things that would have come up, let's just say, for example, he had applied, he is an Uber driver out of the area. He got through and got an Uber permit or an Uber contract, being here illegally, having had a record of deportation.
Yeah, they say they do a background check. And when I went through my process, it was like 6 days later, they just said, okay, you've been approved. And they didn't say, like if you had anything on your background check, which I don't. But I mean,
But what did you have to provide? Your social security number?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I forget. But I think, something along that line. The social security number, maybe some other.
So if this guy's an illegal alien or
address and stuff like that.
What do they call it? An undocumented immigrant. I mean,
Right.
how do you do a background check on somebody that doesn't have a background in this country?
Well, that's the point. If you don't find a background, that ought to be bell number one.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah, we
Red
don't want
flag.
this guy driving and representing our company because number one, we can't find anything out about him.
See, it's like almost the biggest detriment to Uber in this case is the fact that he was an Uber driver because he wasn't operating as an Uber driver when he committed the crimes.
Right.
But he was kind of pretending to be an Uber driver, which I've heard of as well. I heard that you can buy the stickers on Amazon and you can represent yourself as an Uber driver, and people do that for whatever reasons. I think where the responsibility ultimately falls is that on the rider, and the rider needs to ask, who are you? What is your name? What is your name? Because then they'll know, okay, this is the person that was sent by the company to come pick me up. And that's why they have that rating system in place where you give them the stars and all that. Those are the safety nets that Uber provides. You should use them to your benefit if you're riding or driving, for that matter.
Very good point. Jeff Stulberg, StulbergLaw.com. You can reach him by phone at 544-7693. Jeff does personal injury cases, criminal defense, general business law, and he also will do civil litigation.
Just quickly, Becky texted in on the 805 Beer text line. She says, you can't blame the state because Uber authorized him to work. And how did that happen if he's not authorized legally to work?
And that's what I was saying, Becky.
To go back, though, you can work and not be a resident of the United States, right?
You can if you're documented for purposes of having a green card. But there's another issue for Uber right there. They're hiring somebody now. They're going to claim they're an independent contractor, but still, I mean, they've brought somebody into their ranks that knows how to represent themselves as an Uber driver.
Yeah,
and certainly he was in Santa Maria.
Mm-hmm.
So in Santa Maria, had this occurred in Santa Maria instead of up here, and it would have been a legitimate, he would have been an actual Uber pickup. of course, he would have had liability, and Uber would have as well too. But even in this case, it's sort of interesting that everything he learns about Uber, or how to put himself in that situation, he learns from Uber.
Yeah, he learned from probably being a driver. Okay, I can approach things this way, this way, this way, and then he learned how to become a predator through his employment, or not employment, I should say, his independent contractor status with Uber. He learned through that. But that being said, you could also ride frequently with Uber and still probably do the things that he did, knowing how it works.
What scares me about this story and it getting out is that this is somebody who was deported, who has a criminal background, who is an undocumented immigrant, who didn't have a driver's license. I mean, and Uber hired him, and they did a background check on him, and they still did. And it's like, gosh, I mean, you hear this, and it's
but
like,
I think it's important.
I love Uber.
Everybody's very quick to pile on to Uber here. Had he not been an Uber driver, he still could have done what he did.
True. No, I understand that. That is part of it.
This has nothing to do with his employment or his independent contractor status with Uber, how he committed these crimes. He committed these crimes by manipulating the rider side of the app. So that is probably the area in which Uber needs to look in fixing some of the problems, because other predators can expose the rider side of the app to do the same thing if they needed to.
Welcome to a sanctuary state, James writes in. So, I mean, that's part of it, too. So, anyways, thanks for your time, Jeff. 544-7693. Give him a call.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.